Traditional education is like traditional media. It spends all of its time trying to prove that it's important when it's irrelevant. Now, this is a statement that to some extent I agree with. And before you skip the video, I'm not the only one who basically says this. In fact, the person who said this is Hormozi himself. He posted this on X, on a public platform. He is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And I got to a point where I was thinking that, what is his mindset like that he would say something of that nature? He has a certain type of mindset that I'm really interested in basically trying to figure out, right? And I think I can, because he's posting tons and tons of content on social media. And I asked myself the question, what is the difference in mindsets between the rich and the poor? And that's basically what I want to talk about today. And I'm going to give you some differences between the rich and the poor. And one of the things that has evoked such concerns is that 85% of what we learn in school is not things that we're ever going to implement in real life. 85%. I'm going to leave a couple of websites right here on my right hand side, right? So the 85% that we learn that we'll never get to implement in real life, why did we even learn that in the first place? So why should you stick around? And I know a lot of people are basically going to shut down and basically not like this video right now because of what I'm going to say now. Memorization of content needs to put us in a position when we can implement or practicalize the content that we have consumed. So is it proper for the education system to be focused in the memorization of content, or should we be debating the possibilities of practicalizing the content that is being given to our children? Now, I have never went into a place and played the piano and they asked me for a diploma. So understanding how money works is very crucial, but we are not taught that. Like, what has to go in your head to think that you failing is an opportunity, that you failing is right? To become rich, you have to be crazy. Something has to be loose in your head.
And to see them casting stones in your direction.
It's difficult.
Did you expect them to cheer you on?
Certainly hoping they would.
Stick around until the end of this video, because there's something free that I have for you at the end of this video. Greetings everybody, welcome to the NCS podcast. My name is Collins Laule, your host, and today we are talking about mindset differences between the rich and the poor. This is a very, very, very essential essential topic that I think everybody should think about. If they have any hope or any desire to basically move out of the 9 to 5 or basically have their own business, whatever the case may be, there's a mindset. Again, everything starts in the mind. If I want you to buy something that I am selling, I need to work with your mind, right? I need to figure out what you like, what you hate. I need to basically ask questions and kind of lure you into the direction that I would like you to take. Everything starts in the mind. When you look at schools, right, they have a tendency to be more focused on memorization of content rather than practicalization of content. Memorization of content only puts me in a position where I memorize for that particular exam or that particular test. And after I pass that particular exam or test, right, the chances of me not implementing it being high puts me in a position where I never really remember, right? So the point of me passing that examination or that test brings a question as to why did I even write it anyway? You understand? It puts me in that position. So is it proper for the education system to be focused in the memorization of content, or should we be debating the possibilities of practicalizing the content that is being given to our children? I think that is a very important point to basically bring out there. Memorization of content needs to put us in a position when we can implement or practicalize the content that we have consumed. Without practicalizing it, puts us in a position where we forget about what we have learned. And it brings the question, why did we even learn that in the first place? Which also brings the question on one of my previous videos, what is in the flow of students moving from grade 1 to grade 12, or basically moving on to tertiary? What is in the flow that we do not probably know about, that the government or even the system is insistent that we basically go through? Why is the system insistent on us going through that system? Now, I know it puts us in a position where we have to become conspiracy theorists, right? I finally got that one right. Conspiracy theorists. And I understand that, but I think these questions, whether absurd or not absurd, I think they are essential questions to basically ask, right? And that's one thing, memorization of content instead of practicalization of content. So the things that are being given to us in terms of the consumption of content, right, is not preparing us for the real world. Maybe in the sense that if you go into a work environment, you do not become a hazard, and you can kind of go with the flow and then start learning when you are in the work environment. For example, as a mechanic, you'd probably learn safety, right? Safety is one of the most important things that you can basically learn when it comes to being a mechanic or being in engineering or even being a doctor, because you don't want to be a hazard in the work environment. So in that sense, the information that is being given to us, very important. And the other thing is that somebody may come and say that the educational system, the approach of the education system is one that basically puts us in a position where we're going to face some financial challenges because we do not have the financial IQ. We are not equipped with some proper financial information to help us in the real world. If you do not understand anything about how banks work, how insurance works, how money in general basically works, right? Somebody who basically got out of a tertiary institution or university, who's now a doctor, who does not understand anything about money, now earning 40, 50, 60, 70,000 rands, and does not understand anything about money, can be in a very bad place as compared to somebody who just has a certificate and is working a decent 9 to 5, whatever the case may be, right? And earning 15, 20,000. So understanding how money works is very crucial, but we are not taught that. Having a thorough understanding of it can put you in a better position than somebody who just got out of school, became a doctor, and they have a lot of money to spend. Again, these are things that the likes of Alex Hormozi, Patrick Bet-David, Grant Cardone are talking about. And what is very important is that these individuals that I just mentioned, Patrick Bet-David, Alex Hormozi, Grant Cardone, Vusi Tembakwayo, they have new money. They have new money. And what I mean by that is that the money that they've accumulated, the millions of dollars that they've accumulated, is money that they have attained in their lifetime. It's not generational wealth. They didn't inherit the money from grandparents or parents or whatever the case may be. They made that money by themselves. And the information that they're giving us, to some extent, can be respected because they got the money that they got in their lifetime by themselves. So what is the first mindset difference between the rich and the poor? Number one, embracing continuous learning. Embracing continuous learning. The rich mindset would invest in self-education and skill development. The rich mindset. Self-education, in other words, they're not relying on formal education or traditional education. They're also relying on themselves, being able to educate themselves about what they want in life or about what they want to do in life. They focus on skill development beyond the traditional education system. They're not reliant. They're not reliant on government institutions. They're not reliant on the government. They're not reliant on the educational system or traditional education system. They have an idea. They thought of it. They want to implement it, and they study and they learn. Now, there's a video that I did about Elon Musk, right? And somebody basically commented, Justin Watermeyer, he said, while I do agree you don't need a degree to be successful, Musk does have a physics and economics degree, and he went to grad school, which he didn't complete. But yes, he is a ferocious reader, right? That's the point that I wanted. He is a ferocious reader. So this guy is commenting on Elon Musk. I basically mentioned something about, do you need a degree in order for you to be successful? And he said here, he is a ferocious reader and is self-taught in many of his endeavors. A ferocious reader. In other words, this guy gets excited just by reading. This guy, like, he reads all the time, almost always. He's a ferocious reader. He's educating himself. He's developing himself even beyond traditional education or formal education. So one cannot basically say, I want to be successful, but basically does not want to do the things that the rich do. You cannot say, I want to build a successful business, but you basically don't want to do the things that people do that have successful businesses. You need to kind of put these things together and realize that, oh, person A, B, and C are rich, they have businesses, they are successful. Let me look into what they are doing step by step, day by day, what they do on a daily basis, and figure out what makes them successful, and then implement that in my life. If you do not do that, what are the chances that one can actually become successful? This is to bring out the point when it comes to the rich mindset, right? The rich mindset invests in self-education and skill development beyond formal schooling or formal education or traditional education. And the poor mindset, with regards to that, it relies solely on traditional education, and it resists new learning opportunities, right? It resists new learning opportunities, right? Once I have the certificate, once I have the degree, once I have that paperwork to prove that I'm actually competent in A, B, C, or D, That's it for me. I need a job. Boom. There's nothing else that that person is basically doing in order to upskill themselves to ensure that they always have a skill or have something that they're always doing to basically bring in an income. I have the certificate. I have the degree. I have the diploma. So I'm applying. Why aren't companies taking me? And while they wait, they do nothing. While they wait for a response, they do nothing. While they apply, they do nothing. All they do is basically apply. Now, there's nothing wrong with applying. I'm just saying, always have alternatives beyond the formal schooling or traditional education system. On the previous video, I showed a video on some young individual who basically built a TLB, right? I think out of plastic, right? A remote control TLB that works with hydraulics, right? The bucket and the boom and the stick was moving and the hydraulics, everything was basically working. And this kid probably was no older than 20 years old and he did it. And he did it. That education that he got to basically put something of that nature together is definitely not something from high school. It's definitely not something from primary. So he upskilled himself. He educated himself, even though he was not able to go to tertiary, right? Very important to note that, right? Don't rely solely on the traditional education system. Always educate yourself. Always educate yourself. Alex Hormozi emphasizes the importance of specialized education tailored to real-world applications. Specialized education tailored to real-world applications. I agree with that 100%. Let's think about it for a second. If you have a child, let's say you have a child, maybe he's good at playing the piano. He's really interested in playing the piano, right? And you want specialized education tailored to real world applications for your child in the thing that he probably is interested in. And let's say there's somebody from America or wherever, they've been playing the piano for 30 years and your child is interested in music. They've been playing the piano for 30 years. They've played in any concert that you can think about, played for the most well-known artists in the world. They composed and produced music that you probably like, right? For the best of artists in the world, right? And then this person probably retires or basically does not want to do what they're doing anymore, but they think, you know what, I cannot just sit down. Let me put together a course that is tailored for the people that want to live the life that I've lived, that is tailored for the people that basically want to go into music the way I did, that is tailored for people who want to basically learn the things that I know about music, right? Let me put together a course. It's tailored for a particular direction that one can take in life, that course, right? Wouldn't that be a proper education for that particular individual? Now, I have never went into a place and played the piano and they asked me for a diploma yeah, I know. Yeah, nobody has asked me for a diploma when it comes to me playing the piano, right? I've played with bands, I've played with different types of people, but nobody has asked me for a qualification. They just saw me playing in some video and that's it. And that's it. So the tailored part, I completely agree with it. Tailored education, right, for real world applications. I completely agree with that. I completely agree with that. Right. What is the mindset difference? Number two, the difference in mindset between the rich and the poor. Number two, viewing failures as opportunities. You see that part, man. I think if you thoroughly think about it, you begin to understand that these people who are rich and making money, who are making it big in life, they are crazy. They are psychopaths. To what level do you have to get to think that failures are opportunities? Like, what has to go in your head to think that you failing is an opportunity, that you failing is right? To some extent, for you to become rich, you have to be crazy. Something has to be loose in your head for you to understand and be like, oh, I just failed. Oh, it's an opportunity. You know, you have to get to that point where a screw is loose in your head to think like that. To think like that. Like you gotta have respect for these people who have actually made it in life. There's something wrong with them. Something in a good way so far, right? There's something wrong with them, right? How can you failed and you're like, it's an opportunity, right? Right. I'm just joking around, right? But to some extent, you gotta be somehow a bit loose somewhere to kind of believe these type of things. Where you fail and get up again, you fail, you get up again, and you think it's an opportunity, and you study the way you failed, and you get up again, and you fail again, and you get up again. In other words, what I mean is that to some extent, a lot of people are not going to think of you as normal. Put this mentality, the idea that failures or viewing failures as opportunities, could this mentality be the reason why one can move from 10,000 to 100,000, from 100,000 to 1 million, from 1 million to 10 million, from 10 million to 100 million, from 100 million to a billion. Is this the mindset? Because I would think that this is the mindset, because some of you have probably tried businesses, some of you have probably tried side hustle, and there's a lot of failures, there's a lot of ups and downs. And it would be logical to think that if you did not give up in that particular business, you would have made it. If you did not give up on that particular skill, or that skill that you were trying to attain, you would have probably made it. If you didn't give up in A, B, C, or D, you would have probably made it. It would be logical to think that there are things that you have experienced in life that put you in a position where you think that maybe you should have viewed failures as opportunities and learn from those failures, because it's an opportunity to learn. I think that it would be logical to think like that, right? So, what is the mindset difference between the rich and the poor? The rich mindset sees failures as learning experiences and stepping stones to success, right? We just discussed that, right? Something has got to be loose somewhere there, right? You got to be crazy, right? And embrace the craziness, I would think. And embrace the craziness. You don't want to do something out of the ordinary, and then somebody comes and tells you that, what are you doing? Are you crazy? And then you stop because somebody's speaking negatively about the thing that you're doing. You understand? So you gotta be crazy. You gotta get to a point where you don't care what people think. You gotta get to a point where you don't care about how people see you, right? I think that puts you in a position where you are perceived as crazy in that sense, because everybody's going one direction and you going the other. You are crazy in that extent. So some screws have to be loose to some extent. So what is the poor mindset? The poor mindset avoids risks due to fear of failure. Due to fear of failure, leading to stagnation. Stagnant, remaining in one place, not moving, fear of failure, because you're not willing to try anything. You're not willing to try anything because, hey, I'll fail, so I must go this direction. Oh, I'll fail, I must go this direction. You're always going in the route of the least resistance. Once you come across resistance, you turn back and you walk the other way where everybody is going. That's why there will only be one Elon Musk. That's why there will only be one Alex Hormozi, whatever the case may be, one Patrick David, one Vusi Tembakwayo, right? Because it is hard to always be persistent, right? And have the mindset of view failures as opportunity, right? It's hard. Again, there's some screws that need to be loose here. You're going to have to be content that a lot of people are not going to want to hang around you. You're going to have to be content that a lot of people are going to view you as crazy. You're going to have to be content. You're crazy. You have to be crazy. You have to be crazy. You're going to have to be content that you're going to have to be somewhat, to some level, an introvert. To some extent, you're going to have to be content that you're going to have to be socially awkward because you're always alone. Look at Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg, very awkward guy. Very, very awkward guy. You can see on some of his old interviews, you could see that this guy is awkward. This guy is weird. This guy is just, he's socially awkward because introvert, right? They have a dream, and therefore that pushes them to be indoors all the time, studying, self-developing, reskilling themselves, educating themselves outside of the traditional education system. They are alone, they are introverts. And when they get out and then they have interviews like Mark Zuckerberg, right? You see them as weird. You need to sit back and understand and comprehend that this is the life that I actually need to live in order for me to get to that particular level. What life do I need to have or live in order for me to achieve A, B, C, D? Hopefully that is something that you can think about. Again, the mindset difference, number 2, is viewing failures as opportunities. Entrepreneurs like Elon Musk have faced multiple setbacks, but view them as opportunities to innovate and grow. Now, I'm going to put together a video where Elon Musk is asked about the things that he's doing with SpaceX, right? His endeavor to go to Mars, whatever the case may be. And the people who went to the moon, right? Those old individuals, they spoke negatively about his endeavors, whatever the case may be. I'm going to leave that video right here, right? Have a look.
There are American heroes who don't like this idea. Neil Armstrong, Gene Cernan have both testified against commercial spaceflight and the way that you're developing it. And I wonder what you think of that.
I was very sad to see that because those guys are, those guys are heroes of mine, so it's really tough. I wish they would come and visit and see the hardware that we're doing here. And I think that would change their mind.
They inspired you to do this, didn't they?
Yes.
And to see them casting stones in your direction.
It's difficult.
Did you expect them to cheer you on?
Certainly hoping they would.
What are you trying to prove to them?
What I'm trying to do is to make a significant difference in spaceflight and help make spaceflight accessible to almost anyone. And I would hope for as much support in that direction as we can receive.
Now, that is some of the setbacks that some of the people that he admires who went to space, landed on the moon, are basically speaking against him. A setback. Imagine the mentor, the guy that you've always wanted to become, right? The guy that you've always admired, or the person that you've always admired, speaks negatively about your endeavor to try and become somewhere along the lines of what that person became. Imagine that. That's a huge setback. I mean, that would, yeah, that would hurt. That would massively hurt. That would massively hurt, right? So he has had a lot of setbacks, but look at what he's doing now. I mean, he's doing amazing things, right? He's doing amazing things. Though there's some controversial things about him, but he's doing amazing things. He's doing amazing things, right? Focusing on asset creation. That's mindset difference number 3. Now, before you basically skip this video, remember, the things that I'm basically sharing with you right now are things that I've gotten from these individuals, the likes of Alex Hormozi, Patrick Bet-David, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Grant Cardone, all these people, Vusi Thembakwayo, our very own South African individual, famous guy. Vusi Thembakwayo, I've accumulated all this from the likes of those individuals, right? So I'm doing this thing so that you don't really have to do a lot of research when it comes to that. Right, when it comes to that, right? So the rich mindset, when it comes to that mindset difference number 3, focusing on asset creation, the rich mindset prioritizes building assets that generate passive income. It prioritizes building assets, not just building, not just buying, but assets, right? And on top of it being an asset, that which you buy, right? They prioritize that asset being something that can generate passive income, not just an income, but passive income. Passive alluding to no maintenance, right? No maintenance. I just did something. I don't need to maintain it, right? And then it generates income. That's passive, right? And then there's arguments about if you have to maintain it, then it's no longer passive income anymore, right? There's arguments about that, right? So you prioritize buying or building assets that generate passive income. In other words, I need little to no maintenance whatsoever, and every month I get an income, right? So that's the rich mindset. You prioritize that. The poor mindset, it concentrates on earning and spending, right? Have you heard of those people who say life is too short? You're going to die anytime anyway. Or you probably die tomorrow and you would have never driven that car. You know, that type of thing. Woo, I came across a lot of those. I tell you that. To some extent, they may come up with arguments that is somewhat valid, considering the life that they are living, considering where they come from, whatever the case may be. But the poor mindset, it concentrates on earning and spending, and often living paycheck to paycheck. The people who say, "Hey, I need that Golf 7 now. I just got a job. I know last month, but now I need that Golf 7. I need that Golf GTI." Right. Nothing wrong with desiring something like that. But if you listen to individuals like I forgot his name. I really forgot his name. But if you listen to some of the individuals who are financial advisors, they will tell you that if you're earning such and such an amount, you cannot afford such and such a car, right? So the advisors that you can basically look into when it comes to that, when you want to buy a car. But then again, a lot of people don't want to buy second-hand cars, but things are becoming expensive, then they don't care, and they just want to get in there and basically get that thing that they've always been hoping for. So again, poor mindset, right? Paycheck to paycheck. You don't want to live like that. Right? Investing in stocks, real estate, and starting a side business can create additional income streams, right? Now, let me mention something. There are people who call themselves independent. I'm independent. I'm independent, right? And the idea that you are independent just because you have a 9 to 5 and you have a job, you're not independent. Right? Because if you are independent, it would mean that if your boss fires you right now, you'd still be independent. It would mean that somebody can say no to you and still you wouldn't care whether that person exists or not, or whether that person says yes or no. You wouldn't care. So in order for you to be independent, you need to have some multiple streams of income. Let's say you have 8 streams of income, 10 streams of income, and one person in that one stream of income says no to you, and you still have 9 other streams of income. You wouldn't care what that one person says because you still have 9 other streams of income. So independence, let me say this. Independence comes when you have a dependence on multiple streams of income. Let me repeat that. This is how I say it, right? If you disagree, comment down below. Comment down below. Independence, or being independent, is the dependence on multiple streams of income, which gives you a greater power to say no to any of the streams of income, right? You can say no to 2 and you'll still have 8. You can say no to 3 and you still have 7 streams of income. That to me is true independence. Having a 9 to 5 is not truly independence, right? You need to work on getting multiple streams of income. Now, now I don't want to go that direction. I don't want to go that direction. But what I want to say is that having multiple streams of income doesn't mean you should open 7 businesses at the same time. What I mean by that, open one business, right? Make sure that one business is functional and it works and it can work without you. Then move on and build another business. Make sure that one business works and it's functional with or without you. And then open another one, and so on and so on. Focus on one, make sure that one is functional, and then move on to the next one. Right, up next on the next video, we're going to be talking about mindset. Mindset again. If not mindset, we're going to be talking about business. If not business, it's going to be finance, right? If not finance, then we're probably going to dive deep a little bit into education, right? Education. What is the educational system all about, right? Do you think that the traditional education system is equipping us with the necessary skills for financial success? Give me a yes, give me a no on the comment sections. Tell me why. Why do you think it equips us with everything that we need? Why do you think it doesn't equip us with anything or everything that we need? And I'd really appreciate your comments, right? And I can also reply to them. I'd also like to comment on individuals who say, you know what, I have a skill. I have been doing 1, 2, 3 for 20 years, 10 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever the case may be. And I know a lot about this, right? And I want to find a way how to move a portion of my business and make it digital, whatever the case may be. I want to create a course, whatever the case may be, anything that has to do with online. I'd really like to comment to those individuals who really want to have a side hustle in relation to the skill that they have, right? And one thing about me, if I don't know how to help you, I'm going to tell you, hey, man, I don't know. Right. The other thing is there's a free PDF document for you on the comment sections. Those individuals who want to basically see how they can move online, right? There's a free PDF or rather ebook in the comment sections. You can click there. You can get it for free, right? You can get it for free, right? I am here to help you guys. I'm here to help you guys. We have just simply scratched the surface about the mindset that one needs to have. There's a lot of content upon content on YouTube about such things, right? And my job here currently is to basically put things together and compress it down and put it together in a neat format for you so that you can easily comprehend it, rather than just watching 20 videos in order to come up with one type of mindset that you need to have as a rich individual, right? Save yourself some time and subscribe, switch on the notification bell, like, comment, right? Share the videos. Would really appreciate that. My name is Colin Laule, your host on the NCS podcast. Signing out. See you next time.
Do it! Just do it! Don't let your dreams be dreams. Yesterday, you said tomorrow. So just do it! Make your dreams come true!